Good afternoon. I'm here with Councilmember Tarsha Jackson of District B, Councilmember Abby Kamen of District C, both Houston City Council members. And we'll get to our remarks on the other topic in a moment. But I do want to talk about the storm that is coming, which we're all preparing for. I've just taken a few minutes away from the storm preparation. I know it seems like we can't catch a break these days. I understand that feeling. But we're preparing and ready to tackle whatever comes our way. The big threat today from Nicholas is rain. That is the big threat here. We could get 10 to 15 inches of rain over the next 24 hours or so. And that would be very, very concerning for whatever areas of our community receive that much rain. We could have rain 2 to 3 inches an hour, which many of our bayous and channels are not able to withstand. That would certainly flood roadways, but if that pans out, it could be a threat to the channels, it could be a threat to some structures. I'm not saying that's necessarily going to happen, but it is certainly a possibility. It's a possibility for our county, but it's a possibility in particular for the southeastern parts of the county. Over the past several days, I've been in close touch with our emergency management team, with all of our partners, from law enforcement to the Red Cross, our hospital systems, the state. I just got off the phone with the governor about 30 minutes ago. We spoke yesterday, we spoke again today. Our teams are in touch. Our sheriff's office, you name it. We've worked with TxDOT, we've worked with our roadway partners, we've pre-positioned barrels and barricades along the roads, and particularly in areas that normally flood. We've reached out to the vulnerable residents who've registered through the program we have called STEER for folks who have limited mobility, made sure that they have somewhere safe to weather the storm. We've inventoried high water vehicles and assets to make sure they're fueled up and ready to go. We're working to make sure dispatch centers have backup power. I ordered our Emergency Operations Center to raise its activation level to level 2. It's the second highest activation level. That is as of 1 p.m. this afternoon. That signals to all of our emergency management teams and our partners that we need to be at a higher level of readiness. If we begin to hear of structure flooding, we will raise the level to level 1. Starting at 5 p.m. today, all county offices and courts will close and will remain closed through tomorrow. If anything changes, we will let folks know. But if you had a court date, any business with the county after 5 p.m. today and through the end of the day tomorrow, all of that is canceled. Our buildings will be closed, save for emergency personnel. Tomorrow, our Harris County Public Health testing and our vaccination sites will be closed, and we are also closing those sites today. So all the preparations are underway as pertains to county, but we consider, as always, our residents part of our emergency response team. So please stay vigilant. This has the potential to be a very dangerous storm for our county, particularly the more you head toward the southeast. So what I need each resident of this county to do today is to get to where you are going to be by 6 p.m. tonight and stay there. Plan to stay there overnight and perhaps through to tomorrow. After work today, after 6 p.m., go home and stay there. Please do that for your safety and for the safety of our first responders. I know you get tired of hearing this, but it's true. Every time we have a heavy rain event like this one, we have to repeat this. Do not drive through flooded roadways. All the folks who lose their cars, the folks who lose their lives during a heavy rain, they don't go in there thinking their car is going to flood. They don't go in there thinking they're going to be the ones to lose control. But the truth of the matter is, it happens every time. And your car is just as vulnerable to these floodwaters as any other. So please, do not drive through high water. Do not assume that you're going to be the one to make it through. It's a very dangerous and deadly thing to do. If you see barricades, don't drive around them under any circumstances. That's why first responders have been working so hard to make sure they notify, these are areas, underpasses, areas that flood. Something else you can do, sign up for alerts. You can text GULF 2021, GULF 2021, for updates from Reddy Harris, that is our emergency management updates. Stay attuned to local media. Watch the news. Visit readyharris.org. There you can watch real-time updates on bayou levels, on flood gauges near you. There's a map that shows all of the different bayous that are near your area and how high they are, so you can see what's going on with the water. And I should also mention, I know there's going to be a lot of disappointment here, but we cannot, in good conscience, advise folks to drive to and from the Harry Styles concert tonight. It is simply going to be too dangerous a situation on our roads. And frankly, if that's the only casualty, that's okay, but we don't want to lose people on our roads tonight. So just please be very cognizant of that. We're going to continue working to prepare. We are working to respond. We are all coordinating. But to the extent each member of our community does their part, we're going to have a lot fewer impacts. Let me repeat in Spanish very briefly before we move on to the other news. Sé que se siente como si no pudiéramos tomar un descanso estos días, con tanta cosa y ahora una tormenta. Pero está llegando esta tormenta tropical Nicolás y la amenaza aquí es la lluvia. Podían caer hasta 10, 15 pulgadas de lluvia durante las próximas 24 horas, 2 a 3 pulgadas la hora, lo cual sería posiblemente bastante peligroso para nuestra área, especialmente el área sureste del condado, pero realmente impacta a todo el condado. Ya veremos qué sucede. Durante los últimos días he estado en contacto con nuestro equipo de manejo de emergencias, con la Cruz Roja, con los hospitales. El gobernador y yo hablamos hace media hora, hablamos anoche, estamos hablando con la policía, todas nuestras ciudades, en fin, estamos coordinando, preparándonos. Hemos logrado trabajar con los socios de carretera para preposicionar barriles, barricadas en las áreas que se inundan. Hemos contactado a los residentes vulnerables que se han registrado a través de nuestro sistema STEER, que identifica personas con movilidad limitada. Nos hemos comunicado con ellos para asegurarnos que tengan dónde pasar la noche con seguridad, dónde capear la tormenta. Hemos tomado inventarios de vehículos de agua alta y otro equipaje para asegurarnos que tengan los tanques llenos. Estamos trabajando para asegurarnos que los centros de despacho tengan energía de respaldo por si hay muchas llamadas al 911. También ordené que nuestro centro de operaciones de emergencia activara a nivel de activación 2. Es el segundo nivel más alto. Y eso dado a la lluvia que va a venir. Eso le da una señal, le señala a todo nuestro equipo de emergencias que deben moverse a un nivel más alto de preparativos. Si se empiezan a inundar estructuras, activaremos a nivel 1. Con este nivel de lluvia, es posible que se inunden estructuras, especialmente en el área sureste del condado. Es muy seguro que se van a inundar las calles y es probable que se van a inundar tanto estructuras como sobrepasar los ciertos canales y ciertos bayous. Entonces vamos a estar pendientes a ver qué sucede, por eso nos estamos preparando. Empezando hoy a las 5 de la tarde, todas las oficinas del condado van a cerrar, incluyendo las cortes. Van a estar cerradas hasta finales del día de mañana. Entonces, si tiene una cita en la corte, cualquier cita con el condado, debe saber que va a estar cerrado. Si cambia la situación, le informaremos. También mañana estaremos cerrando nuestras sedes de vacunación y nuestras sedes de pruebas. Esas se cerrarán ya hoy. En fin, estamos haciendo todo lo posible para prepararnos, pero como siempre, son ustedes también parte de nuestro equipo de respuesta a las emergencias. Entonces, les pido que nos ayuden con lo que les corresponde a ustedes. Y eso es, por favor, lleguen a casa a las 6 de la tarde y ya de ahí no vuelvan a salir. Eso es lo más importante que les puedo pedir el día de hoy. Que tanto usted como su familia, apenas termine el trabajo, vayan a casa, vayan a donde planean estar esta noche y hasta el final de mañana. Es probable que se inunden ciertas estructuras y las carreteras van a estar muy inundadas, muy peligrosas a través de esta noche. No queremos que haya gente fuera porque están poniendo en riesgo su vida y también la vida de los trabajadores de emergencia. Ahora, una cosa que siempre decimos, pero de repente a la gente se le olvida, y eso es: no conduzca a través de vías inundadas. Todas las personas que pierden su vida, que pierden sus vehículos cuando se inundan las carreteras durante una tormenta, ninguna de esas personas piensa que el vehículo de ellos es el que se va a inundar. Nunca piensan que son ellos los que se van a ahogar. Pero cada que hay tormenta siempre sucede esto. No sea la persona que cree que su vehículo tiene algún poder especial, no lo tiene, es peligroso. Entonces, si llega a una vía inundada, no siga porque es muy posible que pierda control y que termine en una situación de riesgo tanto para usted como para el personal de emergencia que le va a tocar rescatarlo. Si ve barricadas, no las remueva, regrésese de donde vino. Finalmente, tenga en cuenta las actualizaciones de los medios, permanézcase muy atento a los medios de comunicación. Nosotros estaremos ofreciendo información a medida que sea disponible y como siempre puede visitar readyharris.org, allá hay información también y además hay información acerca de los niveles de los bayús y los niveles de los canales. Entonces así puede ver cómo está el bayú cerca a donde usted vive. Ahora, una cosa más, sé que va a haber un poco de decepción en este tema. Esta noche hay un concierto al cual la gente, estaba emocionado de ir al concierto de Harry Styles. La verdad es que no puedo, con responsabilidad, no puedo recomendar que conduzcan al concierto ni desde el concierto. No puedo de una manera responsable recomendar participación en ese concierto esta noche porque a partir de al menos las 6 van a estar muy peligrosas las vías y la situación solo va a empeorar de ahí a entrada de la noche. Con eso entonces terminamos el tema de la tormenta y regresaré al inglés para hablar del otro tema. Let me shift briefly into what originally brought us here. 2 weeks ago, Senate Bill 8 went into effect. This is a draconian law that is harmful to women, and it creates a threat to public safety. As the only woman sitting on the Harris County Commissioner's Court, I feel an obligation to give a voice to the millions of women that call Harris County home. We are a county of almost 5 million residents, half of whom are women. We are the largest county in Texas, and it's my responsibility to represent all of these women. As you can see, as a female elected official in Harris County, I am not alone. I'm very proud to be standing here with Councilmember Kamen and Councilmember Jackson. I feel an obligation to make sure that we go on record as noting that this blatantly unconstitutional law violates our values as Harris County residents. The law is harmful for women. It essentially bans abortion altogether because it bans abortion 6 weeks after conception before many women know they're pregnant. It makes no exception for pregnancies that result from rape, sexual abuse, or incest. It harms women because it promotes the kind of back alley procedures that led to so many deaths before the Supreme Court made abortion a right. But the law is also a threat to public safety, and I want to stress that. This law creates division. It fosters a culture of vigilantism in our state. It pays a $10,000 bounty to any citizen who chases down someone who has facilitated an abortion. Could be a taxi driver, could be a doctor, could be a nurse. It encourages people to spy on women who are seeking an abortion, to stalk them, to chase after them, so they can collect the $10,000. It encourages people to chase down the high school girl who is pregnant, to stalk the woman who was raped. It promotes a culture of stalking and vigilantism. This all casts a dark shadow over our community. This pits neighbors against neighbors. This sows disunity, and it represents a danger for our community, especially in a community as diverse as ours. The threat to public safety is obvious. It's an obvious consequence when you offer a large cash prize as a reward to bounty hunters who will stalk children, intimidate and terrorize our families, spy on us, peek in our windows as women so that they can find who facilitated an abortion and collect $10,000. I believe that leaders of the largest county in the state where this is happening, leaders who represent the millions of women who call this county home, must take a stand. I believe we have a responsibility to do everything we can to support women and to prevent the kind of vigilante behavior this law fosters. That's why I'm presenting a resolution for Harris County Commissioners Court to formally oppose this law. Adopting the resolution, we would be formally taking a stand against the law, supporting the Biden administration's lawsuit against the state on the grounds that the law is unconstitutional, and committing to do everything possible as a court to counter this law and its effects. It may well be that our hands are tied as Harris County government because of the way the law is drafted, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try. Either way, the residents of this county and the nation who is watching as this law was signed deserve to know that this kind of law is not what this county stands for. A storm is coming tonight, and that should remind us of the importance of unity, of how we do better when we're united. The kind of law that pits us against each other is not what we need, has no place in this nation, and has no place in a diverse community like ours. It's dangerous to go down that path, and we need to call out any attempts to sow division. So I'm going to repeat this briefly in Spanish and then hand it over to my colleagues over here. Hace 2 semanas, SB8, la ley de SB8 entró en vigor. Es una ley opresiva que perjudica a las mujeres. Y es una ley que representa una amenaza a la seguridad pública. Siendo la única mujer en la Corte de Comisionados del Condado Harris, siento una obligación a darle voz a las millones de mujeres que viven en este condado. Somos casi 5 millones de residentes, la mitad somos mujeres. Somos el condado más grande de este estado. Y como líder mujer no soy la única, como ven aquí con mis colegas. Quiero declarar que esta nueva ley, descaradamente inconstitucional, va en contra de nuestros valores como Condado Harris. Esta ley perjudica a las mujeres. Esencialmente prohíbe el aborto, porque prohíbe el aborto 6 semanas después de concepción, antes de que muchas mujeres sepan que están embarazadas. La ley no tiene ninguna excepción para violaciones, abuso sexual o tragedias como esas. La ley perjudica a las mujeres porque las obliga a buscar el tipo de procedimientos clandestinos que terminaron en tantas muertes antes de que la Corte Suprema convirtiera el aborto en un derecho. Además de perjudicar a las mujeres, esta ley supone una amenaza a la seguridad pública, crea división y fomenta una peligrosa cultura de vigilantismo en nuestro estado. La ley paga una recompensa de $10,000 a cualquier ciudadano que persiga a alguien que haya facilitado un aborto, o sea, un taxista, un doctor, una enfermera. Alienta a las personas a espiar a las mujeres que necesitan un aborto, a acecharlas para que puedan cobrar sus $10,000. Anima a la gente a perseguir a la chica secundaria que está embarazada, a acechar a la mujer que ha sido violada. Promueve una cultura de vigilantismo y de acecho. Todo esto arroja una sombra oscura sobre nuestra comunidad, enfrenta a vecinos contra vecinos, siembra desunión, crea un problema especialmente en una comunidad tan diversa como la nuestra. La amenaza a la seguridad pública es una consecuencia obvia. Cuando ofrecemos grandes recompensas en efectivo a los cazarrecompensas que acecharán a nuestras hijas, intimidarán y aterrorizarán a nuestras familias, nos espiarán como mujeres, mirarán por nuestras ventanas para ver si estamos recibiendo un aborto o no. Por supuesto, esto va a lastimar y perjudicar la seguridad pública. Yo creo que los líderes de un condado tan grande como este tienen una responsabilidad de tomar una posición en un tema tan importante como es esta ley. Es por eso que estoy presentando una resolución el día de mañana en la Corte de Comisionados, para que la Corte adopte formalmente la oposición a esta ley, para que se comprometa a hacer todo lo posible para luchar en contra de los impactos de esta ley. Puede ser que tengamos las manos atadas por cómo está escrita la ley, pero eso no significa que no debamos explorar las opciones. De cualquier manera, la nación y los residentes de este condado tienen derecho a saber que este tipo de ley no representa este condado. Estos ataques, esa división, ese vigilantismo no tiene lugar en este condado y en este país tan diverso. Cuando estamos unidos todo lo hacemos mejor. Ahora que viene una tormenta recordamos eso, la importancia de esa unidad, de trabajar juntos. Este tipo de ley que nos enfrenta los unos y a los otros no tiene lugar en nuestra nación, es peligroso seguir ese camino y debemos señalar cualquier intento de fomentar la división. Con eso vamos a escuchar a mis colegas aquí. I will hear from Councilmember Jackson.
Thank you. And thank you, Judge Hidalgo, for your strong leadership. And good evening, everyone. My name is Councilmember Jackson, representing Houston City Council District B. I'm here today as a proud mother of 2 young men. Becoming a mother was a beautiful choice for me, and it was my choice. My second pregnancy, I suffered from toxemia, which is a blood poisoning, which nearly killed me and my unborn child. After my child was born, my doctor recommended that I do not have any more children because I was in danger and the child's life would be in danger. So I had my tubes tied, and I hoped that I wouldn't get pregnant. But it was always in the back of my mind that my mother got pregnant after getting her tubes tied with her 16th child. And so I thought to myself, and I asked the question today, what would I have done if I would have got pregnant? I don't know. But I do know that that would have been my choice, and it should be every woman's choice on what they do in cases like mine. Pregnancy and motherhood is not easy, and it can be life-threatening, especially for black women. And I know that this law, like so many others, will fall hardest on poor women and women of color. White women and wealthy women always have a choice available to them. And so I'm a woman of faith. I made my choice to have my children based upon my health, my faith, and my life. And every woman should have that right. It is not Governor Abbott's decision. It should not be the Republicans' decision or the Supreme Court decision. It should always be a woman's choice. So I stand here today with my county judge, with my colleagues, and all the women across the state of Texas, demanding that we have our choice and we keep our choices of women. Thank you.
Councilmember Kamen, who also leads the Women's Commission at the city and multiple efforts on the topic.
Thank you, Judge, and thank you so much for having us and for your stand for women throughout the state of Texas. You pointed out so aptly, as the sole female voice on County Commission, the fact that you are taking up this resolution means a lot. So thank you for your leadership. We very much appreciate it. It's outrageous that there are no exceptions under this law because it personifies the inhumane spirit of what this law is. But it's not, let's be clear, a bad law because there are no exceptions. It's the fact that it imposes an obligation on my body, the body of my colleagues, and the bodies of Texas women that is no one's decision except women and their healthcare providers. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment, and also I want to point out the First Amendment, where one particular religious ethos is being forced upon the whole by our government. My faith, and I'm Jewish, and our ancient writings and teachings support the right of a woman to get an abortion, even if she is not at risk physically, but actually mentally. And I want to share personally, just like my colleague, Councilmember Jackson, and thank you for your openness and vulnerability. It's no secret that I myself had an extremely rough pregnancy last year throughout COVID. My son is 6 months today. I love him with all of my heart, but I cannot imagine being pregnant without choosing it. I laid in bed for 3 months thinking what it would be like if I had not chosen or wanted this, if it had been forced upon me and I did not have control over my body. After birth, I'll also be very open. I've struggled with postpartum depression. The fact that our state will not only refuse to expand Medicaid, but the lack of resources for women to access health care and support after they give birth is really what we should be focusing on here. Many, many women that we're speaking to today know what I'm talking about. And if you're a man, you do not know what we're talking about. and you should not be making laws that determine our autonomy. I really appreciate that the judge has brought up public safety. Throughout COVID, and I serve as chair of our Public Safety and Homeland Security Committee, of which Councilmember Jackson is also a member. COVID has had a disproportionate impact on women and their families. Domestic violence has skyrocketed, and the dangers to our healthcare workers and women in workplaces is also at risk. They're already at risk for so much, and this law puts women, and I will add healthcare workers, in greater danger. When you put bounties on the heads of women and healthcare providers in the middle of a pandemic, it's unconscionable. I want to know why Governor Abbott and those in Austin are not putting a bounty on rapists and those that assault women. Why are we not talking about that? And the lack of, in the void of leadership that we're facing at the state level, again, I thank Judge Hidalgo, and I also want to recognize all of our other female colleagues who now have a majority on city council. And I want to focus on what you, the public, and those that support women can be doing to help right now. Texas healthcare providers like Planned Parenthood can and will continue to assist you in seeking the care that you need out of state. If you want to support causes like this, please contact Planned Parenthood, and if you are in need, please contact Planned Parenthood. The Lilith Fund and Texas Fund Choice and other groups are going to be supporting women, as they always have, with expenses to travel out of state. If you need help, please contact them, and if you are in a position where you can support, because funds are desperately needed to assist women in need right now, please reach out. It will make the biggest difference in the world to a woman and her family today. Judge, thank you again, Councilmember Jackson, and I look forward to seeing the outcome of the resolution tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you. We'll take any questions.
Judge, you mentioned you talked to the governor on the phone. Just wanted to get a little bit more information, just describe how that conversation went, both on SB 8 came up, but also, of course, Tropical Storm Nicholas.
We're facing a disaster, and with that, it's important, all of us have to put our differences aside and deal with the matter at hand. And so the governor and I have been in touch exclusively on the topic of Tropical Storm Nicholas. We've been talking about whether we need to issue a disaster declaration. So we agreed that yes, he's submitting one as we speak. It includes Harris County. We've been talking about making sure we're preparing for a worst case scenario and what our teams are preparing, whether we need anything from the state. They've been gracious to offer any support we need and are at the ready. Another bit of good news, with Centerpoint, they've shifted their crews from Louisiana over here, so they're on standby. So it's a lot of logistical and preparation communications.
And on the county side of things, can you talk a little bit more detail about some of the preparations they've taken? And are there specific bayous or areas of town that they're focusing on, putting up more barricades, more highway rescue vehicles, that sort of thing?
We know the areas that typically flood, so barricades are going up in those areas. We can't, at some point, even streets that don't have underpasses are likely to flood. So that's why we're saying everybody just stay off the roads. Rather than checking to see where there's a barricade after 6 o'clock, everybody needs to be home. We're particularly concerned for the bayous in the southeastern part of town, Clerk Creek, for example. Halls is always a concern, although it's a little bit farther to the west. Brace certainly could be impacted, but mostly it's those over on the east side of town, the areas Pasadena, LaPorte, etc. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody else is off the hook. That absolutely doesn't mean that, which is why everybody in the county needs to be off the road by 6. Because yes, there is a chance that even if you're in the west, northwest side, that you could see impacts certainly to the roads in your area. Maybe you won't see a home flood, but you will see road flooding to where you shouldn't be driving. So let's hope it doesn't pan out. But right now, the recommendation is very clear, and that is at 6 o'clock, get to where you need to be and plan to stay there through to tomorrow.
And one more for me, Judge.
Okay.
You had mentioned the Harry Styles concert.
Yes.
During your remarks, Harry Styles himself actually tweeted, due to the approaching storm in Houston, I've been advised that tonight's show at the Toyota Center can't happen. safety must take priority, so please go home and be safe. Just wanted to get your reaction to this tweet there.
Oh, a big thank you. A big thank you to Harry Styles. That is, just shows enormous responsibility. It is something that I don't have the authority to cancel, and so we were very much hoping that he would take that step. So he's certainly saving lives by doing that. And, and so whether you're playing with a concert or somewhere else, please stay home. This is not the night to be out and about having fun unless you're just going to be at home with your family. That's what you should do tonight. Stay off the road. And obviously I'm sorry to hear about that because it would have been certainly a fun event for a lot of people, but it's just not worth risking their lives. Let me give Councilmember Kamen an opportunity to talk about the city response.
Thank you. And again, as Chair of Public Safety and Homeland Security, I also want to give an update. Huge shout out for putting fans ahead of, and their lives ahead of anything else. From the city side, the city emergency response team has been activated, as has our Office of Emergency Management in terms of their coordination. Public Works is already activated. Our solid waste, trash pickup, I know a lot of people are asking about that. There will be no trash pickup for tomorrow, Tuesday. Pickups will begin again, including Tuesday's missed pickups on Wednesday. So what that means, we are asking every resident in terms of preparing and what you can do. Secure those bins. We don't want to see bins going down the street and floating down the street. We also don't want trash and debris blocking drains and ditches. We need our water conveyance to work as well as it should, and that means everybody's help right now. If you have a few minutes to go outside, check your own drains, check your ditches. Please clear those out. Make sure we're ready to go for tonight in terms of monitoring. But the city is ready. The city is activated. Mayor Turner has been working diligently, as he always does, throughout the day and including over the weekend. And we appreciate the coordination and efforts with the county as well.
All right, thank you.